Now, change is on the horizon for Barbados cricket, with incumbent Conde Riley expected to step down from his post as president of the Barbados Cricket Association, the BCA, in time for the organization's next annual general meeting, slated to be contested later this month, the 29th of July, actually. The Barbados Nation newspaper is reporting Tuesday that among those confirming their candidacy for the post is current Vice President Calvin Hope, also the losing presidential candidate from 2023. It has so far been established that Hope will be joined by one-time VP Jeff Brooms, as well as former West Indies and Barbados batsman Philo Wallace. Well, Wallace joins us via Zoom to share the motives behind his bid for the post and his vision for the sport in the country. Philo, welcome to the SportsMax Zone. It's a long time that we haven't had you on SportsMax, sir. Great to have you on.
Thank you, Lars. Thanks for having me. Yes, it's a long time. I also served as a BCA board member for 6 years, sometime back.
Yes.
And obviously, returning back from London to Barbados, you go around cricket grounds, and a lot of people are disgruntled of what the Barbados Cricket Association has been doing in relation to local cricket. And the members in particular, they feel that they're not being a part of the association. There's a disconnect. Our junior cricketers, as I said in my little brief, is that our junior cricketers are winning. They dominated the regional competitions. But what happens to them after the regional competitions? They're champions, but nobody knows about them. And I think that is something that the BCA has lacked in not pushing our junior cricketers to the careers in cricket. Like how when I used to play, we came through the under 15s, under 19s, and the Barbados senior teams, and then into the West Indies team, Sherwin Campbell, Roland Holder, Otis Gibson, a number of Florida Court. They bring all of us play together. And these are the things that are lacking in our cricket, where we don't have our young cricketers coming through in packs and really looking for glory. We cannot identify the next West Indies captain, the next West Indies player coming out of Barbados. And all these are things that need to be addressed. The BC, obviously, Conde Riley has been there for a long time. I'm not saying he didn't do a good job, but sometimes change is important because people become comfortable and they just rest on their laurels and not push hard enough to look for the rewards of the cricketers.
Yeah, well, I remember last year Barbados won under 15, under 17, and under 19 titles, and there really hardly is a year that Barbados doesn't win at least one of the age group titles, whether it's under 15, under 17, or under 19. So you've accepted that the junior program is going well. But specifically, Philo, what do you see as the shortfalls in the administration that you would want to address? In a nutshell, you just pointed things out, but to tackle the problems.
I think we have coaches in the club system at the moment, and those coaches have to come in sync with the BCA. There's a director of coaching in Henry Springer, the former West Barbados and West Indies head coach. He is the man in charge, and there needs to be dialogue between him and the club coaches and streamlining a structured program for the coaches within the clubs. Reporting has to be done as well, and on the players, I think we also have to have a program that incorporates the players into fitness. I know it's not a professional setup in Barbados, and the players will say, well, they work and they don't have time to come to practice and put in the work. But you need to encourage them to do it. You need to give them incentives to drive them towards becoming better cricketers, although they have their daily jobs. And then we have to also, right now in Barbados, there's a break in BCA cricket. At the elite level, there's no cricket for the next 3 weeks. And we're at the hype of summer. And at Q7, it's still light. And why there's no cricket being played at this time? The red ball competition that stopped, I think, in April or May, and it will restart in September. Why has that happened? So you need to find a balance in how to structure the whole scale of cricket in Barbados so that the players will feel a more buy-in and they feel rewarded for what they're doing. There isn't a great reward for playing cup cricket in Barbados, and that is why we have to fall off in numbers. So we have to also tackle the schools as well to get them to come on board with the BCA and get them to understand the rules that they play and helping to develop the cricketers. Because the cricketers will come out of the private institutions like the Franklin Stevenson Academies and the Richard Clarks and those guys who work really hard during the weekends. Some clubs don't have youth systems. So the BCA has to look into those systems and try to help those systems to develop, and those guys who are involved, the facilitators involved in those young programs, those junior programs, and nurture them and bring them into the school system, where there's another set of development in the school systems. And when they leave the school systems, they're going to the club and the Barbados setup. There's also the Everton East Centre of Excellence that needs to be revamped. And once they get into there, you have a rounded cricketer, and then into the national under 19 setup, on junior setups, and then you're looking at into the Barbados team by 2021, and you're looking at a West Indies player by 23, 24 years old.
Yeah,
And that has to be the process, the wheels that keep turning to bring the cricketers out. And I'm a big believer that we need to find fast bowlers. And we need to find programs for fast bowlers to encourage them and understand why they need to bowl fast. And I believe that Barbados cricket has been built, or was built on fast bowling.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Philo, I know that for many of the recent years you've been in Trinidad and Tobago and also London. So you are now back home for good, are you?
Yes, I'm back home for good. Last, obviously, I've completed what I had to do in Trinidad and London. I do go back to London because I have an estate there in London, but I'm looking to close that off soon, and I'll be fully in the Caribbean. And I'm trying to make the meaningful contribution to our cricket. When you look at what is happening in the West Indies cricket, we're getting a lot of excuses and no answers. And that is another thing as well that we need to look at. So once the territorial boards can get their setups right, I think when it comes to the West Indies level of cricket, they will have the cricketers that they want.
Yeah, and Philo, I'm going to ask you a bit about the women's program in Barbados because it's a fact you all have one of the best female cricketers. She's also the captain of the West Indies, Hayley Matthews. But what programs are there for the young girls that are interested in becoming a Windies cricketer one day?
Yeah, well, that's a big problem as well in Barbados. Where we have a structured women's program, but I think that the wrong people are involved. I think more has to be done. I would like to see a director of women's cricket as well at the Barbados Cricket Association and have a budget for women's cricket and a small committee that runs that setup and have a year-long program for the women across the age groups and try to get them to understand the importance of playing cricket. There can be a career out of playing women's cricket. Obviously, we have Hayley Matthews, who's an outstanding player, who's obviously taking the world by storm. And she can also be in the dialogue and make contributions on how we can develop the women's game to a standard where it's competitive. If you look at the Barbados women's team within the regional competition, they've struggled. So something has to be lacking. And I think that we need to also focus on the fitness of the women. And I think there's a whole different type of setup when it comes to women's cricket in relation to fitness. I think we need to bring in people to help us to understand how to coach women. Because I don't think a guy who coaches men can just jump over the water and coach women. I think it has to be someone who's geared up for that type of gender and work towards getting the women fitter from a younger age so that by the time they reach 2021, they can play for West Indies and do well, because you can see that some of our international players still have not covered the fundamental principles of the game. And these things have to be taught at the junior levels. And that is where it's important to embrace the people who are facilitating the young women's cricket development to help them to push them in the right direction and give them more meaningful training and understanding of the game.
Right, so good to hear that you have the youngsters in mind and of course the women. What about that gap? Because one of the things I tend to notice in cricket, so going to school, you'd have these star players coming through the ranks, captaining, doing well at the under 19 level, but I've always wondered what happens from that level to bridging that gap into the senior level. There always seems to be that disconnect. Have you thought about that aspect of the game?
Yeah, that is where the cricket legends will come in for the mentorship program. We need to have our cricket legends involved in developing, bridging that gap between the junior and the senior level of cricket. Because as you rightly said, Will, Barbados, as Lance said, Barbados won the under 15, under 17, under 19, but you can't recall a member of those squads. So we need to find a balance, a common ground where they can continue their playing cricket and still developing their skills. And that is where the cricket legends will come in to bridge that gap, to help them to understand that there is a career between academics, youth cricket, and senior cricket. But there's also a work in progress in relation to getting to the international standard of playing cricket. Because the guys will get to 19 and say, there's nothing for me. I know Barbados has maybe looking at an under 23 program. They go down to some went down to Dominica a couple of times and to Bermuda, but that is a one-off. We need consistency there, and that I think the legends will come into that area and work throughout that system to help them to keep in readiness cricket, because we cannot ignore the legends. They would have been at that juncture in their careers, and a lot of the modern day legends as well would have been at that juncture, and they can then impart the knowledge and the skill sets that are required.
Yeah, and these plans sound really good, of course, if you are given the opportunity to execute. But I'd have to ask you, Philo, what's your relationship like with corporate Barbados? Because in order to execute, we need money. So how is that?
But the BCA is one of the few associations, or maybe the only association in the region that's funded by the lottery in Barbados. We have a lottery grant that comes through every quarterly, I think, from the lottery. The government also imparts it. Government as well has an input in the BCA. The BCA has members that pay fees, so the BCA is well supported when it comes to finance. I just think that sometimes we just need to cut off some of the fat heads around our boards and try to disperse the money down where it's important in cricket development. And I think not a lot of money is being pumped in there because cricket is spread. We need to get into the communities as well. We need to get our players recognizing the importance of playing in their communities and embracing more community activities to help on the players to understand the fundamentals of the game and bring the communities and the BCA closer and engage also our membership. Our membership will also have to come into play as well because they're part of corporate Barbados. And I believe that if the members of the BCA get to know the national players and get to understand them, then there's a two-win street where the players, the corporate sector, and the membership, they're all entwined, and we're looking at one common goal to make Barbados cricket strong and better again.
I want to go back to the point of mentorship, Philo. The point that you made in regards to having legends communicate with young cricketers who are moving from the under-19 level and hopefully to the senior level. That's quite a gap. And whenever I hear mentorship, it always sounds to me a little bit short term.
But
Can you
don't get distracted because I use the word mentorship. Our legends will be working from the under 15 program straight through, to our senior sides. So they wouldn't be missing any gaps. So there's a number of cricket legends around. We have our own company, Cricket Legends of Barbados Inc. You sign an agreement with them, a contract, and get them to work throughout the BCA system. From the age group of under 15, you can even go down to under 13, under 15, under 17, under 19, straight through to under 23 and into the franchises.
But isn't the problem a lack of cricket though for the transition to be complete? That's a fundamental issue, right?
Yeah, but that's why I talk about balancing. We have to balance it. And it's not only about cricket. The legends can also sit down and have dialogue with these young cricketers and get them to understand this club cricket in Barbados at this time of the year. The legends too can be enrolled within the club structure. So go into the clubs on weekends during the week, however they structure it, and speak to these players. You don't want the legends going 5 days a week to bombard the young cricketers with cricket. You want them to have a structured program. Maybe Tuesday is dialogue, Wednesday's next session. And the legend is there on the weekends to watch them Saturday and Sunday to see how they're progressing. It is not about bombarding them with cricket. It's about watching and understanding and get them to see the development and get the legends to incorporate their knowledge into the modern day. What I'm trying to do is to bridge that experience to modern day technologies because we can't ignore the experience. The experience have to help us to bridge the gap that is lost, that we are losing our young cricketers. So that's where the experience comes to relate straight through the programs. And obviously, when you're looking at minors, you're looking at parents. The parents also have to buy into having these guys around to help them. And it's similar with the women. We have enough senior women cricketers in Barbados that can help these young girls to understand why they can play cricket and be better at what they're doing. So it's across the board that you're going to use your cricket legends, both male and female, to help develop the cricketers at both genders.
I get the impression that you would need regional involvement in order for this to also come through, because if you are head of Barbados Cricket, you will be a director of Cricket West Indies, and I'm sure that's a long-term goal for you because you have indicated such in the past. But what kind of impact are we anticipating from you being a part of CWI after this if you become head of Barbados Cricket?
Well, I can't say what impact I can make at CWI level because I'm not there yet. But you have to get Barbados cricket right first. And I think that if we can get Barbados cricket right first and going with the right ideas that CWI can see, when you get to that seat, then you know you can make a meaningful contribution. You have the trust of the other CWI directors. What Barbados is looking at, and from my point of view, through my eyes, is to make sure that Barbados cricket is strong enough that when a player from Barbados is selected for any age group West Indies squad, that player, be it boy or girl, man or woman, they're ready to step onto that field and represent with honors without being strangled or be shy or anything. They already know that they're in for it and they know what they're up to, and they can deal with the pressures of the international cricket. We in the region have to prepare our cricketers for the international occasion. I think we are not doing it.
Sir Philo, with all due respect, what I'm leading into is the fact that there will be no waiting period from when you become, or if you become BCA president, you will immediately be a director of Cricket West Indies. And I just want to have an idea of the impact that you want to see at that level as well, without you having to provide the evidence at the local level.
You have to produce it at the local level first to make the impact at the CWI level. Because if you're not doing it locally, you can't do it at regional. You have to get your home in order first, in order to make the impact on the regional board. And that is why I'm getting that. So if you can get Barbados cricket structured in a way that is good and that is leading the way in cricket in the region, once you make your step to Cricket West Indies level, then you'll be accepted and your impact will be there because they'll look and see what you are doing in your territory. I think at the moment we have some directors at CWI who are not as strong as they should be. So if you can go in and you can strengthen CWI from what you have done in your territory, well, it gives you muscle to move West Indies cricket and the regional cricket forward. We need to have an international product. Our product is not at international level. And we saw what happened in Barbados the other day. We lost in 3 days, although Australia gave us 301 runs to win it in 14 hours, which is 20 runs an hour. And we couldn't work it out. And we lost in 2.5 hours or 3.5 hours. So those are the kind of things that you need to get right first before you can make any meaningful contribution at the CWI level. So we need to get our regional structures good enough and strong enough so that when we go into CWI, they know what you're about.
So
you don't want to go there fighting. You want to go there and embrace. You want to go there and be embraced for what you are doing and what you can and what you're going to actually contribute to the strengthening of West Indies cricket. The regional boards have to be strong first.
Having said that, though, I'd like a quick comment in regards to the no-show of Barbados in particular for the critical CWI governance vote which took place last year. I sense that there were a couple of disagreements in regards to the Webby report and what was posited. I just want to know your thoughts on Barbados abstaining and not being part of that decision.
Well, Barbados abstained because of their legal advice from the legal team, which is astute leadership in the leadership in the legal fraternity in Barbados. And the legal side said, look, there are things that we don't agree with, and we want you to take these grievances to CWI, and they did. And they abstained because under the legal advice that was given, you got Sapat Cheltenham leading a legal team in Barbados. It means something, and what he says legally it carries a lot of weight, and I can't see BCA going against him. So that is the reason. Obviously, Barbados then relaxed their position and went ahead and voted, but they stood on a point, a legal point, and I agree with it. Because at the end of the day, you can't just go into things blind and expect them to work. You need to have things hash out and know the nuts and bolts and the nitty-gritty of certain decisions that you're making. Because the decisions of Cricket West Indies are going to go forward for a long time and they obviously reflect on the regional boards. So if you're not in agreement with something at CWI level, I think it is right for the territorial boards to let CWI know, look, we don't agree with XYZ, and here's our reasons, and we'd like you to go back to the drawing board and fix them and come back to us. Yeah. And it's a legal recommendation.
Yeah. Philo, I'm not too sure how much you would want to talk about your rivals for this presidential race because there are two men steeped in Barbados cricket administration. Calvin Hope only narrowly lost to Conde Riley at the last election by 3 votes, I think, 75-72. Jeff Brooms was a former manager of some of the Barbados teams that you played on, and I believe he lives in your neighborhood as well. How do you feel about the rivals that you're up against?
Well, I saw Jeff yesterday morning. We were at the stoplights. I got out of my vehicle and knocked on his window and said good morning. I live in stage 1. He lives in stage 2. And obviously, as a former, he was my manager at youth cricket years ago. And I respect Jeff. We sat on the board together as well. He was in charge of women's cricket, and he always had cricket at heart. Obviously, a retired principal, so the experience is there of leadership. And I would just like to say to Jeff, may the best man win. Calvin has been my friend for a very long time. He's encouraged me to go and study law. He's been with the BCA for a number of years. He's given his heart to cricket. But at the end of the day, not a lot has been happening while he's been sitting there. Yes, maybe a lot of ideas and stuff and proposals have gone forward. but no recommendations, no solid recommendations have come out of those things. So you need a bit more force, a bit more meat more meat on the muscles to push these things forward to get cricket driving through the veins and blood of the young people in Barbados. So yes, I know Calvin has been a loyal servant. I saw him during the test match, working very hard in the President's Suite. And I wish him all the very best come July 29th. I made the best man in the position of president.
Yeah, okay. Well, is there any chance for anyone else to put their hats in the ring, Philo? Because we've just gotten these three names up to this point, but the nomination period, is still open.
Yeah, the nomination, I believe, starts July 15th and it ends on the 22nd of July. So people still have the time to put their names in. I think there are a number, I've heard through the grapevine, there are two other members who sit on the BCA board who are looking to run for the president of the BCA. But I know these guys will come in maybe at last minute. So whoever there are, there could be about 5 or 6 guys who will be looking to be president of the Barbados Cricket Association come July 29th. And it's down to the membership. When those members who are financial members and life members, honorary life members, walk into that room and they put their X by the person who they want to run the BCA. But then we have to say well done to that person and move on and get the work of the BCA going forward to be a better BCA, for a better organization, and for betterment of Barbados and West Indies cricket.
Okay, Philo, we're going to leave it there. Great talking to you. We hope to have a chat with some of the other presidential candidates as we get closer to the date. From a distance looking on, I must say that relative to cricket administration territorially throughout the region, I think Barbados is among the best as far as cricket administration is concerned. So you're vying for a position that has a history of success with Barbados cricket administration. So all the best with your campaigning, and we'll be on top of this story. Great talking to you, Philo.
Thank you, Lance. All the very best.
Yeah, Philo Wallace there.